Thanks for watching my video. This video we're going to remove the rear wheel off of a KTM 1190 Adventure. Um, it seems pretty straightforward, but like most KTMs, KTM does an amazing job of making it difficult to remove a rear wheel. First thing you want to do is remove that 30 millimeter axle nut, and that's easy enough. And just slide the axle through, pull the axle out, then we'll slide the wheel forward and remove the chain, and we'll hang the chain off the swing arm. Now here's where it gets tough. So on most motorcycles, the back wheel just slides right back, the caliper comes with it. The back wheel and the caliper come off together. You just put the caliper off to the right hand side. But KTM has this slide on the swing arm that is just really stiff to get that caliper past. So what I found out putting it back on, first let's remove the sprocket and the cush drive, and the next shot will be putting the cush drive back in. Now back to the caliper. What I found out is there's a clamp underneath the driver's seat, the rider's seat, and that clamp, you need to unbolt it to give you more slack in the braided brake line that runs to the rear caliper. Yeah, I don't know why they did that, but yeah. So anyway, putting the bike back together, that's what I found is if you remove the Torx head screw on that clamp that holds your brake lines from your reservoir to the master and then back to the rear wheel, it gives you enough room to get it on. So right now we're putting grease on the rear axle. This is Lubrimatic marine grease, and you're not putting a lot on, you're just putting a light coat. The only reason is to make this axle slide out easier next time. Your wheel does not turn on the axle, the wheel turns on the bearings. So you just need a good grease that's going to protect the bike, the inside of the wheel. And I'm putting that same grease on the wheel seal for the right side of the bike. And we just want to make sure that moisture doesn't get in there. And then we cleaned off the spacer and stuck the spacer in. So back to this rear brake. So putting it on, you want to have that clamp underneath the driver's seat removed, so you have plenty of play with your brake line. You want the ABS sensor removed, and you want to pull the wheel out far enough so you can get the caliper onto the rotor. And then there's, on the bottom of the caliper bracket, there's this weird round kind of lip. You want to make sure that that lip is below the spacer. And once you have all those things in order, then and only then your rear wheel will go on. So like I said, it's much more difficult than it should have been. But once you get all those things lined up on the brake side, then you can jump over to the chain side, put your chain on. This chain was a little bit tight, and it had some tight spots in it, so I had to kind of twist it. It wouldn't just pop right on. I had to turn the back tire, and then I could get everything lined up with the chain on. So once everything looks good to go on both sides, then you can grab your axle and slide it in. So again, just like taking it out, everything just goes back together like it should. And like I said before, this chain's worn, so there were some tight spots in it. It is on the owner's to-do list. He just bought the bike, and we're going through it and found some things that were out of place. So my axle's in. I just need to turn that adjuster a little bit to line it up so it'll slide into the swing arm. And then I can pound it through the rest of the way. Don't go get yourself a hammer. Don't use a hammer to beat on your bike. It's rare that you'll ever see me with a hammer. Usually if I have a hammer and a pry bar, I'm beating on a Harley, not a Honda. So we have our axle in, the wheel's spinning freely, everything looks pretty good. There it is, right into place. So now we can put our right spacer in. And right spacer's in place, and we can put our axle nut back on. Now when you're doing this, you want to check when you start torquing it down, because that right side will pull away from the adjuster. So make sure you watch this when you're torquing it down. You'll see me give the rear tire a couple kicks, and that'll push that rear tire up against the adjuster screw. And then when you're done, you want to make sure that your adjuster plate is touching the adjuster screw. So once we've got that torqued down, we're going to put our ABS sensor back on. And again, it's too bad that KTM kind of overthunk this crazy procedure for removing the rear wheel. They kind of went a little bit too far. The slider, you're going to see that the slider that the caliper bracket slides on, it's over thought out. That little lip on the bracket, I'm not sure why they went to those extremes, but there's really no need. The other manufacturers don't do that. So here you can see where the brake line, I had to take the brake line off of the swing arm just so I could get more travel out of it. And then the wire for the ABS sensor, it just gets tucked down underneath the brake line, and then it gets routed. Everything gets routed back up underneath the rider's seat. And the camera just doesn't catch that little clamp. There we go. So there's the little clamp. If you remove that screw holding that clamp on, it'll give you plenty of play on that brake line. So that was pretty much my KTM video. It took me a little bit longer to do this than it should have, but once everything's in place, the KTM's ready to ride now. It's got a brand new set of tires. We want to spin that rear wheel, get the brake going, that way the rider's safe when he pulls out. Thanks for watching my video.